The defining virtue of the political right is wisdom, and the defining virtue of the left is compassion. When people are young, passionate, and idealistic, they tend to be more driven by compassion, and thus more to the left. As people get older, they tend to learn how and why the world works the way it does. They tend to become more pragmatic and more driven by wisdom and move to the right. The compassionate left are critical to the maintenance of a healthy society. Well-balanced compassion can show us where the society is failing. Compassion lets us see what's going wrong in the world. Well-balanced compassion is how we aim for a world worth living in. All values can become vices when taken to excess, even the virtues of wisdom and compassion. Excessive compassion leads to excessive resentment. Compassion is always generated with resentment, like an equal and opposite emotional forces, two sides of the same coin. This is a natural consequence of compassion. Compassion is the desire to fix a wrong in the world. In order to fix the wrong, you must first see and judge the wrong. You must be angry about it. And if it affects people unequally, like almost everything does, that anger is generated in the form of resentment. In A Road to Wigan Pier, George Orwell pointed out that socialists are not just driven by compassion for the poor, but also resentment for the rich, two sides of the same compassion coin. The political left goes too far when they imagine and embrace an impossible utopian vision, and end up resentful of not only the world, but of all potential future worlds. Compassion is the natural cloak for resentment, since they are two sides of the same coin. The neo-Marxists are attempting to use the cloak of compassion for blacks to drive resentment for whites. They then want to cultivate resentment of whites and develop it into the neo-Marxist resentment for Western liberal democratic capitalism. This is the purpose of the neo-Marxist political construct of whiteness. It's a bridge for the fiery resentment they cultivate for whites to spread into a neo-Marxist resentment for the system, the society, the civilization. They want to burn it all down to make space to build their impossible utopia. The impossible utopia will never be achieved. The impossible utopia cannot be achieved. The fires will not stop. The neo-Marxists are resentful of all potential worlds, for all potential worlds are contemptible. When compared to the impossible vision of utopia the neo-Marxists are aiming for with their imbalanced compassion. The resentment fire will not stop with the whites. The neo-Marxists will set the resentful mob on the Asians, and they will set the resentful mob on the Jews. They are already doing this. As long as there is any identifiable group the neo-Marxists can point to as having it better than another group, as long as there is racism of the gaps, the neo-Marxists and the resentful mob will not stop. If we do not stop the neo-Marxists, in the end, we will all be kneeling in nothing but fire and rubble. Instead, we must seek to restore the balance between wisdom and compassion, and follow the courageous path.